Okay, we're looking at Prima Secundae, question 5, article 5, whether man can attain happiness by his natural powers. The objections are very good to look at here. Objection 1, it would seem that man can attain happiness by his natural powers. Nature does not fail in necessary things. Okay, the discussion question I put on popular has to do with this. Nature cannot be in vain. If nature has an end, then nature should be able to fulfill that end, or else you might say that nature is so fundamentally flawed and irrational, we wouldn't even call it nature anymore. Nature for St. Thomas is robust, a certain integrity to it. It's different from the Calvinistic understanding of, depraved nature. Nature is still good, it's still ordered to teleological ends. So if man could not attain happiness by his natural powers, then we would say that his nature fails, but it can't fail in necessary things, and St. Thomas agrees with that. So how do you escape that paradox? Okay, so St. Thomas says man is the principle of his own action. That's free will, right? By intellect and will, we are master of our own action. We're not mere instruments of someone else's will and intellect. But final happiness surpasses the intellect and will of man. Therefore, man cannot attain happiness by natural powers. Okay, so now we have St. Thomas's solution to this. And this is where we get the crux of the debate. St. Thomas seems to be saying in this respondio that there's two ends of human nature. One, a natural end, and another, a supernatural end. There's two happinesses. One, an imperfect happiness according to our natural powers and our natural end, and a perfect happiness according to the supernatural life we are given through grace and elevated to through faith, and culminating in the life of heaven. Now, man's perfect happiness is a vision of the divine essence. His imperfect happiness is that knowledge of God we can get through natural contemplation that is talked about in Book 10 of Aristotle's Ethics. Now, how does St. Thomas respond to the objection that if man cannot attain happiness by his natural powers, then nature does fail in what's necessary? So St. Thomas gives a brilliant analysis here to answer that nature has given man free will. We can use our free will to turn to God and, in a sense, ask God to fulfill our natures, to make them capable of being happy. So we ask for the help using our nature, our free will, that help which would then perfect our nature, which it can't do on its own. And that is, in a sense, the obediential potency. Our natures are ordered in such a way that they can be receptive and by consent, by freedom, to those helps, grace, that can enable our nature to be perfectly fulfilled. Okay. And then finally, Article 8, whether every man desires happiness. This is an interesting question to ask in relation to modern sensibilities and culture. I mean, obviously a typical secular modern person would say, yeah, we all desire happiness, but it's different for everyone, right? No one can say what activity happiness occurs in for all human beings because of our diversity and our different viewpoints and perspectives. One person can be happy being a monk, another person can be happy being a businessman, another person can be happy counting grass for his life. And who's to say, which view of happiness is the true one? There is no true object of good, right? This is bound up with moral relativism, perspectivalism. And 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 then the other question to ask is, if happiness is found in the vision of God, of God's essence, and if every man desires happiness, that means every man desires the vision of God, even atheists, even those who live as if God doesn't exist. So the question is there a natural desire in every human being, which is what nature means, for the vision of God, for beatitude, for the beatific vision? And St. Thomas is going to say that there is. Everyone desires to be happy. So St. Thomas says that um, we that we all desire this general happiness, beatitude. Of course, we do not. All humans do not know in what that general beatitude um, is, what enables it, what object or person, the knowledge of which would enable us to have happiness, and that, of course, is not a natural desire. In a sense, it's a supernatural desire, because in order for us to know that God is not only the principle of the effects of creation, but he's also the principle of our happiness through being elevated through grace and the light of grace, light of glory in heaven, that we can know God as our eternal, perfect happiness with knowledge of God as he is himself. That is not something that nature tells us. If it were, you'd have some inkling of it in Aristotle, right, or Plato, but it's not there. So, yes, Revelation needs to teach us that we have a destiny that's more than our natural end of natural knowledge of God. And all men do not desire that particular specific notion of happiness unless they're informed by revelation and accept that revelation through faith. Okay, well, that's our commentary for this week. Stay tuned for next week's wrap-up.